All right, we're into material IDs. Now, this rollout is quite interesting. Currently, I've made some changes where it's not fully functional for how I had planned working. Let me give you an example here. We can load these little color maps. Like this one will give us different material ID colors to utilize in a temporary color that temporary material that we create. So each of these colors would become a sub-object material at that specific slot number. Anything over 24 would be randomly generated. Okay, so we can do that, but it's just I disconnected things, so it's not working at this time. I'll reconnect that so it's working. So let's just say there's another issue here because with Max's color management system, when we load something and we change the gamma on the load, we can't get perfect color here. So if I'm going to load this material sheet, we have like this cyan color, but Max has the gamma workflow has problem rendering out some of the cyan colors. I believe that's the correct color. So you don't get the exact colors that you want. So the color management system has changed a lot in Max. My point here is that don't rely on this unless it works for you. Don't think that this is going to be a perfect solution for setting up like material IDs for Substance Painter, because I've talked to the guys at Substance when it was algorithmic, however you pronounce it, and they were having frustrating times with the color as well. So I'm not sure if any of that's changed. If it has, sorry, I wasn't aware. But let's just continue moving on. Okay. ID material create. We can left click that to create a material that can be temporarily assigned. I'm going to turn off the checker here and turn off the fast shader, and I'm going to left click to put on the material ID. And I'm going to actually, let's just get rid of that mesh because I need a better mesh to use for this example. So I'm going to use the top of this treasure chest here. I'm going to actually click material ID. We don't have any material IDs on this, so I'm going to use the UV elements. So I'm going to shift and click that to get the UV elements to become the material IDs for that object. Let's isolate this so we can get into motion here. Isolate, there we go. Okay, so you can see that is the object. Those are the material IDs. We are not using the specified colors that I have set here with that image map loading, but we'll get that back in function. And let's see, we can ID map material assign. This is already assigned with this, so we can right click to get rid of that, or we can click this to bring it back up. This button here is similar to this button in some ways. You can left click to make the material ID be displayed. You can right click to get your material back onto your object and remove that temporary material ID material. And I believe you can also alt right click to remove material from the object, so you can get it like a fast preview or like a fast shader override, but it's just the object in standard default shading, or however you have that set up here in the Max viewport. But then you can also go back and right click to get your material back. The material information is stored in the user defined properties here. You can see SSUV holder material with the material name. If you happen to have multiple materials of the same name, the incorrect material might be found. So at that point, you'll control right click and find a list of materials with the same name, and you can select your object and choose the material until you find the correct one, then escape out of that so that you're all set. All right, so this is something interesting beyond what we've already covered here. So I'm going to left click to select that material set. That material ID can be chosen with left click. There's the green, there it is. Left click to get the blue, there it is. Now I'm going to select this orange and right click the blue. Now I've turned the orange to blue, so that's number 2. So now I can take this entire object and right click red. Now it's all material 1, material ID 1 red, right? So we can manage things with left click and right click, and it says it right there. Left click to get, right click to set. Okay. ID create and assign we lately covered. Load, gamma, and save. Let's see. I'm not sure if save really works. We can click this and set that color. That's good. We can click save. And let me pause. Yeah. Okay. So I verified that it does save. It goes into the Super Sweet UI maps. And it sounds a little silly for me to say that I don't know if it saves or not, because at this point, this tool is just so big. I can't remember every function to a T, right? So I have to fiddle around sometimes if I need something special to happen. All right. So there's the map that we created from this image set. And basically all this is, take a look at this with this basic viewer tool. Okay, so it's just a bunch of pixel cells that are 6 by 6 each. Then we go 6 rows, or I'm sorry, 4 rows of 6 columns. And there you go. That's your color set. It's that simple. Save it as a PNG, make your own as a PNG, and then you can load it as you like. So let's do that. I actually have an example one here of SSUV's logo resized, and you can see the color palette there from the resizing. We'll load this again, and we'll just add this one back in. There we go. I can Control Shift left click, and we're going to reset to the default color set of the Material ID system. I haven't really followed anybody's standards here. I just kind of made a bunch of colors. Okay. Next, let's get into this. Let's bring back our Material ID selection here by converting our UV elements over to Material IDs. And now that we have that, we can go through and select by using a spinner. So you can see that we spin through. We're selecting each Material ID as we do that. And we can also manage this just like we would manage left click, right click, right? But the point to this spinner is that we can't manage any material IDs over the number of 25. So this would be like select material. Let's do 30. Okay, there's 30. Maybe that's a bad example because it's tiny. It's 25. There's 26. We'll do 26. Now at this point, we can select it by changing the number, and then I can set it. I'm not sure how I remember how to set it, but we click set. I have to change the number. I think I kind of forgot what to do here. Set the spinner value as material ID. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense because then I can't change it. To set. Oh, it selects it. Yeah, so I kind of goofed that up. I'll have to fix that. Okay, so let's go next to show mat IDs. We can select that and it will show all the material IDs of the object. We can select it and move to the right and see that 41 is the max number. It shows here total mat IDs 41 on the button, and we can click showing object 1. We can click this button here that has some information. Once we click that, let me clear out the listener. Once we click this, you can see SSUV info material IDs found for object 1, and we can see how many material IDs there are, the exact numbers that are used, and the position of the object. All right. Next, we have randomized material IDs on selected faces. Now for this, I'm going to get a plane. I'm going to draw the plane out. We're not going to use 100, but 20. Whoops. 20 would be good. Render multiplier was bad. It doesn't matter. So we have that set up now. We're going to go into checker mode to just take a quick peek. We'll turn that override off. I am now going to load this into the system. I can actually use UV float. We'll click that. Randomize material IDs on selected faces. So we're going to select faces. Just going to make something interesting here. And now we're going to, for every one face by two faces, we're going to select the faces. Okay, so we don't need to make a selection ourselves. I can go to 1. I can go to like 1.08. 1.38. You get the idea, right? Now we can select randomly. So we can do that pattern, but only choose every third face or every second face. I'll turn that off and go back and get that original selection. And now I can randomize the material IDs based upon what I've selected, right? So what I can do here is set material minimum 1, which would be red, and then we'll set the other one at 8. We'll assign random material IDs, and you'll see nothing's really happened. We don't have anything happening. Why is that? Okay. Well, let's go and turn on our material ID temporary preview. So there you go. We can see that it did make a change. Now, all of that red there is not only random selected faces that were colored red, but also faces that weren't affected at all. So let's go back and reset this. We'll turn this down to 1 and 1. Everything's set. We're just going to assign that. There we go. Now we're going to put this back on 2 to 9 because we want to make sure red is just not overused. Okay. Now we're going to select the faces. Let's change this number down to 1.2 and we'll assign the material IDs at random. There you go. Okay. Have fun fiddling with that stuff. Next, we're going to duplicate the object to show the material IDs. Okay. So what we can do here is if we do not want to use this override system, select the object here and we'll Alt right click to remove that material ID from it. Going to collapse and reload it back into the system. We can actually take the object, duplicate it, and that will automatically assign the material ID to it. So we don't need to do it the way I was doing it. Granted, this way is kind of silly too. I don't know why you'd want to duplicate it, do that, but it's there if you want that. We can go back into this and duplicate that object again. And now I'm going to use remove material. So control and click. Okay. And we have to move the viewport because it's not refreshing. It should have a complete redraw on it to force the redrawing, but I didn't see that happen. So let's try that one more time. Control click. No, that it does work. You just need to move the viewport. I'll have to look into that. It could just be the recording software too. Sometimes it tends to fiddle with Macs a little. So that is that rollout. So it's useful in many ways. It's also quirky in other ways. It is what it is. Is it perfect? No. In some ways, it's very useful. I'm rambling, but I'm trying to get to a point of I'd like to polish that up. I'd like to make that much more full-featured, and I'd like that to be something much nicer because material IDs, working with material IDs for random placements and for how they're implemented on different objects, it's something that deserves attention. So that's all. Next video.